In the glittering world of corporate law, the courtroom was a stage, and Adrian Thorne its reigning star. At 35, he had clawed his way to junior director at Blackwood and Hayes, a firm as feared as it was powerful. His name inspired equal measures of admiration and dread in San Francisco's glass towers. Success framed his life. A penthouse above the bay, suits tailored in Milan, and a Porsche with his initials on the plates. To Adrian, the law was not justice, it was a weapon, and he wielded it like a virtuoso. His current case would define his career, defending Ethelmed Pharmaceuticals against a massive class action lawsuit. The plaintiffs were families destroyed by Luminar, a so-called miracle drug that allegedly caused neurological and liver damage. Their lawyer, Elena Reyes, was brilliant but underfunded, the David facing his Goliath. Adrian regarded her with detached amusement. On the trial's third week, he entered the Philip Burton Federal Building beside his jittery associate, Gary Flynn. "Gary," Adrian said coolly, jury mood. "The engineer, number 5. Skeptical, Gary muttered. "He likes data. Ms. Reyes has the young woman, number 9, on emotion." Adrian smirked. "Emotion is a sugar rush. Data endures. I'll let her stir their hearts. I'll own their minds." Inside courtroom 18C, he spotted Reyes among her clients, their faces drawn with fragile hope. He dismissed them with a glance. In his world, Goliath didn't lose. Presiding was Judge Patricia Vance, a formidable woman whose quiet authority commanded silence. A former civil rights attorney from Oakland, she had earned her robe through relentless integrity. To her, justice was sacred. To Adrian, it was strategy. The day's witness was Dr. Anya Sharma, a toxicologist whose testimony linked Luminar to cell damage. Reyes asked evenly, "Dr. Sharma, what explains the pattern we see here?" "In my expert opinion," Dr. Sharma replied, "there is a causal link between prolonged Luminar use and neurological injury." Adrian rose with rehearsed outrage. "Objection. Correlation is not causation. This is a statistical fallacy and an insult to the intelligence of this court." "Mr. Thorne," Judge Vance said sharply, "I'll decide what insults this court. Sit down." He obeyed, muttering, "Unbelievable. Amateur theatrics." The judge's pen tapped once, a silent warning. Adrian saw challenge, not caution. Later, Reyes presented an internal Ethelmed email. A scientist ignored warning about toxicity. Adrian jumped up again. "Objection. Relevance. Compliance was met. My client isn't on trial for lacking prophecy." "Mr. Thorne," the judge cut in, her voice low, "you're testifying. Cite your basis or remain silent." His pride bristled. "With respect, Your Honor," he began, every word dripping condescension. "This case involves complex biostatistics. Perhaps it would save time if we left such matters to the men who understand them." Gasps rippled through the courtroom. The temperature seemed to drop. Judge Vance removed her glasses deliberately, folded her hands, and regarded him with chilling composure. "Mr. Thorne," she said softly, "did you just imply that this bench and counsel are incapable of grasping complex issues because we are women?" "I misspoke," Adrian stammered. "I apologize. Poor choice of words." "No," she said, standing, her presence filling the room. "What you did was deliberate contempt. It was sexism dressed as intellect, arrogance disguised as expertise. You believe power exempts you. It does not." She signaled to the marshals. "Your Honor, please," Adrian began, panic replacing polish. "I retract." "Your retraction is noted," she interrupted, "and rejected. Fear is not remorse." Her gavel struck once. "Adrian Thorne, you are held in summary contempt. 72 hours in the Metropolitan Detention Center." "Nobody." The courtroom froze as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. The sound was small, yet it shattered everything he had built. The jury looked away. Elena Reyes simply watched, calm and vindicated. As he was let out, Judge Vance declared, "Court is adjourned." Those 72 hours broke him more than prison walls could. The tailored arrogance peeled away, leaving only silence, sweat, and reflection. When the cell door finally opened, Adrian Thorne emerged pale, hollow-eyed, carrying nothing but a paper bag of his possessions. Waiting outside was Gary Flynn, holding a fresh suit. "Gary," Adrian rasped, "what's the damage? What's Blackwood saying?" "The appeal." Gary hesitated. "Mr. Blackwood wants you in his office." Now, at Blackwood and Hayes, the marble floors seemed colder, the air sharper. David Blackwood, the firm's senior director, stood by the window, his expression carved from ice. Ethelmed has withdrawn every account, he said quietly. We've lost a billion-dollar client. The press has crucified us. You've humiliated this firm. Adrian opened his mouth, but Blackwood raised a hand. Save it. I built this empire on fear and precision. You built your name on arrogance. There's no room for both. Adrian tried to muster the charm that had won juries and boardrooms alike, but the words died. Blackwood's next sentence felt like a verdict. Pack your things. You're finished here. The words rang in his skull, echoing the judge's gavel. Outside, the city lights blurred in the drizzle. For the first time, Adrian Thorne felt small, another man swallowed by the machine he once commanded. His reflection in the glass looked older, stranger, human. Yet deep inside, beneath humiliation and rage, something unfamiliar stirred, a sliver of awareness he couldn't yet name. And as thunder rolled across the bay, he realized his fall wasn't an ending. It was the first crack in the shell he'd built around himself. And through that crack, the truth was beginning to seep in. The partners voted this morning. Blackwood's expression was devoid of mercy. Your directorship is terminated. Effective immediately. Adrian's life had imploded. The scandal made him professionally radioactive, the poster child for legal misconduct. But the deepest karma was yet to come. An investigative journalist from the San Francisco Chronicle, Marcus Chun, read the story of the high-profile lawyer's jailing. He was interested in the why. A panicked and disillusioned Gary Flynn contacted Chun, whispering two words: Phoenix Chemistry. Phoenix Chem was an old toxic tort case Thorne had handled years ago, settling out of court cheaply. Chun dug relentlessly, using FOIA requests and subpoenaing old court files. He found the raw data and then the smoking gun, an internal Blackwood and Hayes memo, authored by Adrian Thorne. The memo detailed how the firm had successfully buried an expert report that definitively linked a Phoenix Chem solvent to a cluster of severe birth defects in a small Northern California town. It was an undeniable, calculated blueprint for fraud upon the court. Marcus Chin's story, the Thorne memo, how arrogance unburied a corporate crime, was a national bombshell. The state bar immediately launched an investigation, and Adrian Thorne was disbarred within months. The Department of Justice opened a federal criminal probe into him and Blackwood and Hayes for obstruction of justice. The old Phoenix Chem families, armed with the new evidence, filed a new, massive lawsuit. David Blackwood was forced into a disgraceful retirement. As for the Ethelmed case, the firm's demoralized new team could not recover. The publicity led a different Ethelmed whistleblower to leak crucial documents proving the company had knowingly hidden Lumineur's risks. Elena Reyes, now armed with undeniable proof, secured a landmark, multi-billion-dollar verdict for the plaintiffs. 3 years later, Adrian Thorne emerged from a low-security federal prison, having served 18 months for obstruction of justice. He was a ghost, stripped of his wealth, status, and arrogance. One afternoon, in a small legal aid clinic in Oakland where he was seeking a dead-end paralegal job, he saw a local news report. The interviewee was Elena Reyes, poised and authoritative. The screen caption read, Elena Reyes, founder, the Justice Initiative. She had used her settlement money to build a powerful nonprofit firm that specialized in taking on predatory corporations. She was no longer David fighting Goliath. She was a giant for justice. Adrian watched, a hollow, cold clarity settling in his soul. He had seen the law as a game. She had seen it as a tool for protection and restoration. He had been brought down not by a brilliant adversary, but by his own character. His contempt for the judge had merely been the spark that invited the scrutiny that unearthed his deepest sins. Adrian Thorne finally understood the lesson in humility served cold. Arrogance wasn't a sign of strength. It was a self-destruct button. His own actions, not fate, had written his final, devastating verdict.